You know, if you give nuclear weapons to North Korea, they're going to start menacing people with it like communists always do, and it's going to build into a huge crisis. And they know the history of the Korean Peninsula and Japan and China. Those countries have had innumerable wars with each other. And the Vietnamese hate the Chinese more than anybody. They occupied them for 1,000 years. There's basically a religion of hating China in Vietnam. And it's a huge powder keg. And now nuclear weapons are proliferating everywhere. We know sexualizing children in the schools under sex education to teach them tolerance when they're 5 years old is pedophilia. And we know it's run by NAMBLA and others that recommended 20 years ago that that's how they would normalize it, was teaching the kids how to be tolerant. And really, you're just having an adult sexualize children who isn't the parents. I mean, it'd be perverted if parents were telling their 5-year-olds about sex and stuff. I mean, you don't even do that till they're teenagers. But we put up with it. And I liken it in a society to finding a house you like, but it's right by a highway. And, you know, statistically, if you have children, living by a highway is one of the most dangerous things. It's worse than a pool. It's one of the top things that kills children is getting run over by highways. But you know what? You have basically a 50-50 chance of getting run over if you live by a major highway. It's your dog or your cat. Just like giving nuclear weapons to a dictator, you good chance you're going to start a nuclear war. Kind of like moving in, you got 6, 7 kids and a dog and a cat, and you really like that house. And boy, it's big and nice, but it's out there at the edge of town on the busy highway by the interstate. Why would you live right there by the highway when you know it's going to get your dogs and cats killed and maybe even your kids? Well, you want the house. And you tell yourself it's going to be okay until, God forbid, one day you go out there and you hear the sirens and your 6-year-old wanders out there to get their ball and they're strewn 200 yards down the road. My family, about 1.5 years ago, wanted a cat. And I said, I like cats. But I said, there's a major road with tons of traffic on it going 60 miles an hour, 50 yards from the front door of this house. And I said, you got to keep that cat in the house. And I don't want to keep a cat in the house. Oh, we'll keep the cat in the house. Cat got out. He likes to go out. We start letting him go out. Starts to go over by the road, watch the cars. Son's coming home from jiu-jitsu, 9 o'clock last night. Cat's dead in our parking lot. I guess he crawled that far. And that's probably one reason I'm even extra angry today. But the reason I tell that story is I knew, but I just will not have a cat if you live by a highway. And by the way, if you live out in the country, people go, I don't know where Spotty went or where Garfield went. All over the United States, you know the #1 cause of cats' death in the countryside. It's coyotes. It's their main food source. And I see these signs up all over neighborhoods constantly. Where's my cat? Where's my chihuahua? Well, in Texas, it's coyotes. And, of course, you know what it is in Florida because they still won't let them hunt. It's alligators. But Disney didn't want to warn anybody that they'd had people's pets getting eaten, so it had to take a kid getting eaten before they started taking the alligators and flying them out. Shoot them in the head. They're a dangerous dinosaur walking around. They're like roaches now in South Texas because they have cut back the amount of hunting. And I'm just digressing. It's just the point is that I don't know when we're going to have a nuclear war. I don't know when a bioweapon's going to get out. I don't know when all this is going to get triggered. But more and more, we're entering the zone of where we can't stop this stuff much longer. And everything the globalists are doing shows that they actually want a big crisis to happen to get full control as they themselves evacuate to the southern hemisphere as fast as they can, because the two hemispheres are basically separate wind systems. And a huge nuclear war in the north, you could probably still live in the south. And you see the elites for 6, 7 years evacuating to the southern hemisphere. And I'm not the doom and gloomer here. I was the first to tell you about that. Now it's mainstream news. I'm just saying, man, can we just not have a nuclear war? But the issue is appease, appease, appease. And those who said appease end up hung by those they tried to please. What's the full poem? It's back from the Revolutionary War. I forget who wrote it. When freedom fails, patriots rot in stinking jails. And those that cried, appease, appease, are hung by those they tried to please.